Many law students think Muslim marriage is only a religious ceremony. But under Muslim law, marriage is also treated as a civil contract. Just like a contract creates rights and duties between parties, nikah creates legal rights and obligations between husband and wife. For example, after a valid marriage, rights relating to maintenance, dower, inheritance and legitimacy of children automatically arise. Muslim law recognizes two forms of marriage, nikah and muta. Nikah is a permanent marriage intended for lifelong companionship and family life. For example, a couple marrying with the intention of living together permanently enters into nikah. Muta, on the other hand, is a temporary arrangement for a fixed duration. The intention of the parties is therefore very important in determining the nature of marriage. The idea behind muta was to create a lawful relationship based on mutual consent and agreed terms for a limited period. Historically, it was viewed as a temporary arrangement in special circumstances where a permanent marriage was not possible. In muta, both parties clearly decide the duration of marriage and the dower to be paid. Once the agreed period ends, the marriage automatically comes to an end. Therefore, the intention of the parties becomes extremely important in determining the nature of marriage. If the intention is lifelong companionship and family life, it is nikah. If the intention is for a fixed temporary period, it is treated as muta. Muslim marriages are classified as sahih, batil and fasid marriages. A sahih marriage is completely valid because no legal prohibition exists. For example, when two competent adults marry with free consent, the marriage is sahih. A batil marriage is void from the beginning, such as marriage within prohibited blood relationships. One important example is marriage within prohibited blood relationships. For instance, marriage between brother and sister, mother and son, uncle and niece, or similar close blood relations is strictly prohibited. Such marriages are not recognized legally and do not create valid marital rights or obligations. In other words, the marriage is treated as if it never legally existed. The purpose behind these prohibitions is to protect family structure, maintain natural relationships and prevent social and moral harm within society. A fasid marriage is irregular due to a temporary defect, but it may become valid once the defect is removed. Unlike a batil marriage, a fasid marriage is not completely void from the beginning. The defect is temporary in nature, which means the marriage can become valid once the defect or irregularity is corrected. Therefore, Muslim law gives an opportunity to regularize such marriages so that a lawful and valid family relationship may continue under the protection of law. For a valid Muslim marriage, parties must possess a sound and developed mind. This means they should understand the nature and consequences of marriage. For example, if a person is permanently mentally incapable of understanding consent, the marriage may not be valid. Temporary conditions such as intoxication or severe illness may also affect the validity of consent. Traditionally under Muslim law, attainment of puberty determined marriage capacity. However, modern Indian law recognizes statutory age requirements. In India, the legally recognized age of marriage is 18 years for females and 21 years for males. This reflects the modern emphasis on maturity, welfare and protection of minors. Historically, Muslim law recognized child marriage through guardianship. Such marriages were believed to be arranged for the welfare and protection of the minor. However, modern legal principles focus more strongly on consent, dignity and protection of children. Courts today increasingly emphasize the rights and welfare of minors in matrimonial matters. A minor married by a guardian is given a special protection known as the option of puberty or khair-ul-bulugh. For example, if a girl was married during minority by her guardian, she may reject the marriage after attaining puberty or majority if she does not wish to continue it. This rule protects minors from forced or unwanted marriages. The right to repudiate marriage cannot be exercised indefinitely. For example, If the person continues to live voluntarily as husband and wife after attaining majority, accepts the marriage or delays rejection for an unreasonable period, the option may be lost and the marriage becomes binding. A valid Muslim marriage creates several legal rights and obligations. Children born from the marriage become legitimate. The wife becomes entitled to dower and maintenance. Rights of inheritance arise between husband and wife. For example, after a valid marriage, spouses may inherit property from one another according to Muslim inheritance rules. Thus, Muslim marriage under Muslim law is both a social and legal institution. It is based on consent, responsibility, legality and protection of family life. Once students understand the concepts logically, Muslim marriage becomes much easier to study and remember.